So you think, so you think it's Bill showing up early and he's opening up the door year after year, waiting for Brock to sing the same old song that he found. I don't, what it same old tears year after year. Do 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 do. Good morning, nerd. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Here we go. Do 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 do. Here you go. Hey, was. So, so you think you can tell heaven from hell, blue skies from gray? Can you tell the green field from the cold steel rain? Smile from the red. So you think you can tell? Did they get you the train? Your hero is for ghosts. Your heart ain't for... I don't get the rest of it. I'm waiting for pops is what's going on. Sorry guys, I'm not... This isn't like... This is like elevator music. Do 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 do. You know, like it's like music, but it's pot ashes for trees. Is that what? There it is. Okay, pot ashes for trees. Did you exchange? You walk on and roll in the war for a lead role in the cage. Do 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 do.
Thank you, B.
Do do.
Thank you very much. Well, looks like you guys are getting a concert this morning, huh? Good morning. All kinds of busyness over here. Oh boy. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Take a few minutes and say hello to each other. For those of you that are here, give me a number between 1 and 50. Let's get some numbers up on that. Let's get some names on the spin to win board. Number between 1 and 50. Go. You can put up to 3 at one time on your line. 1 and 50. Go, go, go. Kill the game, kill the game, kill the game. Billy D's already said it. Billy D's already in. 44. Billy said 44. Pop's favorite number. Billy D, you're in. We're going to be spinning this coming Friday. Way to go, Bill. We'll get a couple more names on here today as we go, okay? Take a minute or two and say hello to each other. Hit the like button, too, while you're at it. Hit the old like button, double tap the screen-o-reen. And we're going to get after it this morning. Good job, Billy. Good job, Bill. Good luck this coming Friday. Okay. Where are we at? Pretty cool picture, huh? That's the head picture in an article. Oh, I know, Woz. It's totally real. It's totally real. You guys proved that when you were here. This is from an article in The Guardian. We're going to explore this article together. And it's a rather long article, so we're going to get started a little quicker than usual on that situation. Right, Nerdy? Nerdy and I can't wait till we get our newsletter, Tricycle Day newsletter. I wake up and I devour it on Wednesdays, excuse me. Before we get too far into it, do you see? Good morning, Jesse James. Good morning, Jesse. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Good morning. Is that right, Nerdy? Amanita muscaria. For some reason, I'm not there yet. I haven't decided that I want to try that yet. There's such a mixture of things said about it. Mostly good though, no question. So, give me 5 people that want me to read a really nice email. A really nice email. Jesse James sent us. Jesse James. And it has nothing to do with shooting a sheriff or anything like that. Okay? He's not shooting the sheriff. Tropic of Neptune is interested. He sent me this really nice email, and then in the email he said if I don't mind that I could read it, he wouldn't mind, which generally means there's something very positive in there to share. Am I right? Here we go. Hey, Pops. This is Jeremy, also known as Jesse James on Tea with Pops. I thought I might explain my almost 3-year absence from being a part of the tea crew every morning. Long story short, my wife passed away unexpectedly, and to be honest, its effects on me were crippling. I was lost. I'm sorry, Jesse. I basically sat down and I didn't know how to get back up. My soulmate was gone, and I hid myself from the world. I didn't know how to survive without her. And to be honest, I questioned if I even wanted to. It seemed the only way to stop the pain was to stop living myself, which was so wrong and selfish to think, because I have 2 beautiful children that need me. I ended up losing a good job I held for years, my house, and pretty much everything. My family and friends tried everything to get me to move through it, but to no avail. Then one day, out of nowhere, my son, 13 years old at the time, who had been silent through all of this, came up to me with tears in his eyes and said, "Dad, I love you, but I think you really need to get help so you don't die like Mom did." Wow, did that really strike me down deep inside. The next day, I admitted myself to a center that specialized in mental trauma, and I started to talk about things that were going on with me and everything I was feeling. I learned what I needed to learn, and even though it still hurts, I got through it, and I realized that my life still needs to go on for myself and for my kids and all the wonderful things. I still had, and that were still to come in my life. I went back to school, and now I'm certified by the state as an associate recovery specialist. I work for an organization called Take Action Today, and I'm using my story and training. See, there's no shame in this. He's using this story to teach us all right now. That's beautiful. I'm using my story and training to help others dealing with difficult situations in their life, showing kindness, empathy, and compassion in order to help give people the strength and hope they need, they sometimes so desperately need. I'm happy to be part of the Tea Crew again. And even though I can't always make the live show due to work, I always watch it later when I'm home. A lot of people do that. Thank you for all the good things you bring to the show and people's lives. Feel free to share this on the show if you think it's worth sharing. Heck yeah, it is. Peace and love to you, my friend, and all of the Tea Crew. Jeremy Jesse James. Jesse James, I need your address. Jesse, today, send me your address. I'm going to send you a little something. Just because of your kindness and openness.
Hey, thanks for making me cry, Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse, thanks for doing that too. I did that yesterday. But then I didn't cry. Then I was dancing around going, that's what we do. We work through stuff. But you made Brock cry too, just so you know. Jeremy Jesse James. Pour out a little love on him, would you guys? Because this letter was a love letter to you guys. It truly was. Good job, Jess. And I'll need your address. I want to send you a little something. Okay? And that is not why he wrote the letter. That is not why. He wrote the letter because he's trying to share his story. It's good stuff. Good morning, Mel. I see you out there. Steve Webb. Good morning, Steve. Okay, let's get to work. Usually at this time of day, That's a good one, Atheist. Atheist asked, what's the difference between a dishwasher and a baby? The Tea Crew helps me every day to be a better and better person. I love this place. We love it too. And thank you, Jess, sincerely. Okay, this morning we're going to read. Thank you for doing that, Laura. And again, good morning, Stephen. Is everything we learn real, you guys? Is everything we learn actually the truth? You know, there's a theory, not even just a theory, it's a known sociological thing that you can change the narrative of a culture in 3 generations. 3 generations, we can completely change the narrative of a culture. The first way you do it is by removing history. Just remove it. We're not even talking about rewrite it. There's certain things you don't want the culture to know about. Just remove that stuff from the history books and the library shelves and the school texts. Just remove it. And then start telling a different story. And if you've done that after 2 generations, the 3rd generation doesn't even remember what was changed and what was left out and what was edited. It can happen that fast. We can change a culture's history / mythologies in a short 3 generations. Has that ever happened before in history? Goini, it's that the Dictator Handbook, that's how they do it. Has that ever happened before in history? I would argue yes. Nippy says it's happening right now. It's kind of true, Nip. We're not doing politics. It's just a fact. Actually, somebody recently asked me, Pops, what's your politics? And I'll always answer the same thing. Politics. My politics, I can answer in one word. Mushrooms. That's it. Any politics that help mushrooms become more available and more legal, that's my politics. Pops, what's your religion? Mushrooms. That's it. Mushrooms / kindness. Those are my two. My answer's the same for both, so I don't get carried away. Wow, see, it's kind of creepy. Mushrooms. So here's an article. It's going to be long. I might take 2 days to read it. Okay? It's an article. Don, I'm down with that too. Nature's a great religion. This article's incredibly insightful. Incredibly insightful. It's titled, The Narrative of Ancient Tribes Around the World Regularly Using Ayahuasca and Magic Mushrooms in Healing Practices is a popular one. But is it true? We've been taught that it's true. Ancient tribes around the world, everywhere around the world, these ancient tribes were all doing ayahuasca and mushrooms in their ancient ceremonies, spiritual practices, etc. I was taught that. I'd sit here sometimes and repeat this. I might have to look at it a little bit different. Is anybody interested? What the heck am I talking about? What am I talking about? Give me a couple of people that want to know what the heck are we talking about. Start reading the article, Pops. Quit talking. Herbie, wait till you read this. Okay, good morning, Lynette. Wait till you read this one. Beginning in 2001, the Austrian anthropologist Bernard Brabeck de Maury spent 6 years living in the Western Amazon. He first arrived as a backpacker. He returned to do a master's thesis on ayahuasca songs. And he eventually did a PhD on the music of 8 indigenous peoples in the region. Along the way, he married a woman of the local Ship-Ebo tribe, and he settled down. Okay? I did not have a lot of money, he told me, so I had to make my living there. He became a teacher. He built a house. He and his wife had children. The rare experience of joining the community, he said, forced him to realize that many of the assumptions that he had picked up as an anthropologist were wrong. He's living among them. Like most outsiders, De Maury arrived in Peru thinking that ayahuasca had been used in the Western Amazon for thousands of years. This is the standard narrative. Look up resources on ayahuasca and you're bound to run into it. Quote, Ayahuasca has been used in the Peruvian Amazon for millennia, long before the Spanish came to Peru, even before the Incan Empire was formed, before written history, states the website of the Ayahuasca Foundation, an organization founded by a U.S. citizen that offers ayahuasca retreats. Okay, that was his claim. It's not an unusual claim. Has anybody ever heard that one before? We all think ayahuasca has been used for millennia. The anthropologist showed just how large the discrepancy was. He discovered that in their traditional stories about ayahuasca's origins, many Shipibo people said the brew came from Kukama, which was one of the first people to be missioned and resettled during the Spanish conquest. Other people from the region remember adopting it in the last 50 years. The Shipibo people, the Amazonian guys that are supposed to be the ayahuasca, they've only been dealing with it for the last 50 years. When he examined old reports of travelers, De Mori found that he could connect the historic diffusion of ayahuasca to the movements of the missionaries and the spread of the rubber industry throughout the Western Amazon. Then there was the linguistic evidence. People in the Peruvian Amazon speak a dazzling variety of languages, but their words for ayahuasca and related activities are notably alike. We speak completely different languages, but we use the same exact word for ayahuasca. The same goes for their music. Lullabies, love songs, and festive songs are varied. Yet ayahuasca songs are very similar and often sung in non-Amazonian languages, like Spanish. These patterns led him to conclude that ayahuasca hasn't been in the Western Amazon for millennia. Rather, it seems to have arrived recently and spread much more recently. Let's pay attention to the facts, you guys, okay? Let's go on. Based on this and other evidence, De Mori argues that ayahuasca diffused through the Peruvian Amazon in the past 300 years. It is likely older among the Tuconan people further north, who he suspects transmitted the practice to populations in the lowlands. Yet in the regions most frequented by tourists, it seems like a new novelty. De Mori isn't the first to make this argument. The anthropologist Peter Gao proposed the same thing in 1994. But De Mori, more than anyone else, has found anthropological data to support it. Wait for this. This is just, to me, it's mind-boggling. We're not done. De Mori's findings represent one of the many cracks in the stories we tell about the history of psychedelics. As these substances become the mainstream, so do narratives about their roles in human society. Narratives that often bind them to shamanism. Just look at the media coverage. In 2020, a journalist for the Washington Post wrote that consciousness-altering substances have been used by indigenous cultures for physical and psychological healing for thousands of years. Michael Pollan endorsed a similar narrative through his best-selling book, How to Change Your Mind, writing that elements of shamanism might have a role to play in psychedelic therapy, as it indeed has probably done for several thousand years. These quotes all subscribe to what I call the global archaic psychedelic shamanism hypothesis, known as GAPS. Okay? It consists of three claims. First, that psychedelics have long been widespread. Second, that use of psychedelics goes back to the ancient past. Third, that psychedelics have long been used by shamans for psychedelic healing, for therapeutic healing. Like so many stories we tell about human history, the gap hypothesis is rooted in glimmers of truth. Yet much of what passes as psychedelic history has been distorted by a seductive mixture of flimsy archaeological evidence, outdated anthropological approaches, and economically expedient ideology. It's a romantic image that indigenous people have been using everything they do for thousands of years, DeMaury said. If we change the picture, it's kind of unromantic. And it seems that people like romanticism. Is this clicking with anybody? Give me 5 people that want a little bit more. Keep reading, Pops. Wait till we get to the mushroom part. Keep reading. You guys ready? This has to be clicking. It has to be. There's nothing wrong with them. We're not saying what we're doing now is wrong, but maybe we shouldn't be pretending that we're acting like indigenous Amazonians. In June 1955, the vice president of public relations at J.P. Morgan arrived in a remote village in the Mexican highlands. I think we know who it is. Gordon Wasson. He was accompanied by Alan Richardson, a photographer, and a teacher at an elite girls' school in Manhattan. They had come to eat fungus. The PR man, Robert Gordon Wasson, was a mycophile. For decades, he and his wife, Valentina Pavlovna Wasson, had studied humanity's relationships with mushrooms. Mexico would be the most promising place to explore it. 4 centuries earlier, Spanish chroniclers had recorded how the Aztecs consumed a powerful psychoactive substance called teonatical, or flesh of the gods. Botanists and anthropologists had bickered over its identity until the 1920s and 1930s, when they discovered that the communities in the Oaxacan Mountains swallowed psychotropic mushrooms in nighttime ceremonies. Wasson learned about these ceremonies in 1952. The next year, he and Valentina traveled to the town of Huala de Jimenez, where they observed but did not participate in a mushroom ritual. He returned to Mexico again in 1954 and collected ethnographic data. In 1955, he traveled down a third time, this time with his photographer friend, and he was lucky enough to meet a Maztec shaman named Maria Sabina. Valentina and their daughter joined a day or two later. Maria Sabina had a presence, Wasson wrote. He and Valentina considered her a woman of rare moral and spiritual power, dedicated to her vocation. He had met her through a local town official under the pretense of determining the health of his son, Peter. It was the ideal introduction. Not only had she spent her life exploring the psychic worlds accessed through mushrooms, but she was willing to let the foreigners try them too. Wasson wrote up his experience for Life magazine in an article headlined Seeking the Magic Mushrooms. Much of this we know already, but we're just recapping it, okay? And there's much here going on. Over 2 nights, he ate mushrooms under Maria Sabina's guidance. When Valentina and their 18-year-old daughter arrived, he gave them batches to enjoy as well. Published in the issue of 13 May 1957, have a good day at work, Jesse. In 1957, the article popularized the term magic mushrooms, and it introduced millions of Westerners to the fungi's mind-melding effects. 6 days later, Valentina told her story in The Week, which was a magazine included in 37 newspapers and circulated to 14 million readers. The PR campaign has begun. The impact of the accounts were immediate and far-reaching. They sparked a surge of interest in indigenous practices and the spiritual and therapeutic applications of hallucinogens. For many readers, the tales of otherworldly visions, camel caravans, resplendent palaces, mythological beasts in a chariot, an 18th century court of Louis XV, to name a few, these all promised gateways to new realms. Writers, academics, and everyday adventurers started to make pilgrimages to Mexico, eager to taste the flesh of the gods. The Wassons helped establish 2 tenets of the gap hypothesis. One, that the ancients of psychedelic use, that there was ancientness of psychedelic use. After decades spent studying mushrooms, Wasson wrote, he and Valentina found that people everywhere, from the Arabs of the desert to the Maori of New Zealand, regarded mushrooms as supernaturally powerful. This discovery led them to hazard a bold surmise. Was it not probable long ago, long before the beginning of written history, that our ancestors had worshipped a divine mushroom? Like a fungal mycelium colonizing new terrain, the threads of the gap hypothesis had taken root. In the decades since the Wassons articles, assertions of widespread archaic psychedelic use have diversified. They've inspired theories about religion broadly and Christianity in particular, that they began with psychedelics or other hallucinogens. The American mystic and psychonaut Terence McKenna proposed that human cognitive evolution was catalyzed by a prehistoric psychedelic, and that some of our modern issues, including myopia, might reflect our alienation from regular psychedelic use. With the rise of 2 industries, psychedelic tourism and clinical medical use, these stories have become commonplace mantras, often tinged with a therapeutic flair. It makes sense why these claims are so popular. As psychedelics prove effective for treating disorders like addiction and anxiety, scientists and enthusiasts push for their broader social acceptance. Connecting psychedelics, and particularly psychedelic therapy, to ancient worldwide traditions makes them, according to the historian Eric Dyke, more natural, more wholesome, and perhaps more spiritual. I agree. It does for me. I have to be honest. When I'm connecting them to some ancient rituals and shamanistic situations and all that, I like the romanticism of it, so I buy in. Oh, how easily we can be fooled. It was a glorious, ambitious undertaking, meant to include more than 1,000 cultures. To build it, Fortier scoured hundreds of sources, including academic books, historical chronicles, and the diaries of explorers. For every mention of hallucinogens, he noted who used them, how they were used, and whether they were used in hallucinogenic doses, and how reliable the evidence was. The project promised to be the largest, most systematic survey of the drug use across human societies. Unfortunately, it was never finished. In April 2020, at the age of 30, he died of cancer. Before he died, he published a preliminary finding in a series of posts on his Facebook page, sparking a small academic firestorm. He found that reliable evidence for early psychedelic usage was limited to the Rio Grande area, the modern-day border between U.S. and Mexico, and southward into Mexico. And even in those regions, usage was very rare. In pre-Columbian times, Fortier estimated, less than 5% of indigenous American groups used psychedelics. And he wrote, this is probably a very liberal estimate. By these counts, 1% or less of the world's cultures consumed psychedelics at this time. Fortier's, this is just going to be fascinating. Fortier's tally was limited to classic psychedelics, substances like DMT, mescaline, and psilocybin. Excuse me. But even if we want to expand to a broader usage, including drugs like ibogaine, deliriants, and dissociatives, hallucinogenic uses remain very marginal by his count. These findings deeply challenge the view that hallucinogenic use is very ancient and belongs to ancestral shamanic traditions that have migrated from Siberia to the New World. He wrote, more broadly, they also challenge the view that most archaic cultures used hallucinogens. Other research has echoed Martin's findings. In 2006, the book Shroom, the ecologist Andy Lecter investigated every presumed case of traditional hallucinogen mushroom consumption in history. He confirmed, only 2. The use of psilocybin mushrooms in pre-Columbian Mexico and the use of Amanita muscaria mushrooms by a scattered group in northern Eurasia. 2 places out of the whole story of it being used everywhere. He could find evidence of 2 places in very, very limited use. Last year, a team of researchers published a paper that suggested that Basotho healers in Lesotho added psilocybin mushrooms to psychoactive brews that are fed to patients. As of this writing, ethnographic research has yet to be conducted, but if it is confirmed, this would be the only direct evidence of the hallucinogenic use in traditional contexts outside of the Americas. If Fortier and Lecter are right, psychedelics have been the exception in the history of humanity, not the rule. Yet some Yes, some people use them for a couple, excuse me. Yes, some peoples used them before a couple of hundred years ago, but they aren't as common as we've been led to believe, and various popular examples seem relatively recent. I've often looked at those Peruvian little mushroom guys. We've shown pictures here and said, yep, that proves right there. See that mushroom sculptor and the paintings? Oh, definitely showing use of psychoactive use in their ancient past, and they love it so much it's even included in their art. The Codex Vindobensius, a 52-page document made of tanned deer hide in the early 1500s, has a scene. Near the bottom right, we find the solar deity, the Prince of Flowers, holding a pair of mushrooms and crying, which some scholars take as a sign of a trance. Nearby, 7 gods are shown sitting and holding mushrooms, possibly representing a nighttime mushroom ceremony. Along with this other codices, this codex suggests that mushroom use was ritualized, mythologized, and ensconced into Mesoamerican societies before the Spanish arrived. A separate set of discoveries, however, raises the possibility that mushroom consumption extends earlier and spans more of the globe than Fortier and Lecter conclude. In 2019, Michael Winkelmann published Evidence for Ethnogen Use in Prehistory and World Religions in the Journal of Psychedelic Studies. The article is a smorgasbord of supposed artistic and literary indications of ancient hallucinogens, listing sculptures, cave arts, and passages of mythology. Yet, as Lecter warned more than a decade earlier, none of these inferences is unequivocal, and each is open to a range of alternative explanations. Let's review a couple of examples. Give me 2 people. 5. Give me 5 people. Pops, review a couple of examples for us. I like learning when they faked me out. They're faking us out. Or are they? Take, for example, what might be the best known example of ancient psychedelic iconography, the mushroom shaman, first popularized in Terence McKenna's book, Food of the Gods, 1992. McKenna's image is of an Algerian rock art dated between 7,000 and 9,000 years ago. It shows a bee-faced figure in a sumo squat, feathers poking out of its head, and a checkerboard of dots covering its body and spilling out from its legs. Most notably, it holds batches of mushrooms, with another 50 or so spouting from its limbs and torso. The mushroom shaman is an icon of the psychedelic community. You can find it printed on shirts, mugs, paintings, and face masks. But as Lecter discovered, the popular image is not a photo of the original. The image that Terence McKenna was referencing is not even a photo of the original art. In fact, Harrison never saw the original painting, but instead deciphered a photograph in a book. And rather than copying the photo, she filled in features where she thought they might be damaged or incomplete. Well, I'll just draw a few mushrooms sticking out of him. I think they're there. Harrison's drawing clearly shows a supernatural figure blossoming with mushrooms. But whether that was the intention of the original artist is far from settled, wrote Lecter. The role of psilocybin mushrooms in the ancient evolution of human religions is attested to in fungi-formed petroglyphs, rock artifacts, and mythologies from all major regions of the world, asserted Winkleman. We've seen that at least some of these petroglyphs and artifacts are wide open to alternative interpretations. But what do we make of mushrooms starring in the world's mythologies? The Wassons, remember, had made a similar claim. Does it hold up? I'm going to throw a couple of facts at you. We're almost done for today on this article, but there's more. I conducted a simple test using the electronic Human Relations Area Files, which is a repository based at Yale. It contains nearly 7,000 digitized books and articles by anthropologists, missionaries, and others covering hundreds of human societies. So there's a repository of written articles over the centuries by many different people, and it's all been digitized, and it's in a repository at Yale. The topics of each paragraph in the file have been manually tagged. Somebody's gone through and manually, this is the topic of this paragraph, this paragraph, this paragraph. So now it's all digitized, and it's done by the repository. Okay? The topics, okay, as of August 2023, 51,025 paragraphs covering 325 cultural groups were about mythology. Just how many of those included the word mushroom or mushrooms? Out of the 51,025 paragraphs digitized in this collection, covering 325 cultural groups, 22 of the paragraphs mentioned the word mushroom. Okay. 19 cultures out of the 325. For the most part, these mentions don't even ascribe mushrooms to any supernatural power, with fungi instead being part of the scenery or mentioned as an aside. Mushrooms appear very little in this collection of mythology, even compared to culturally important psychoactive plants with a far smaller range, like peyote and kava. Peyote and kava are mentioned much more in this digitized collection than mushrooms. This was a preliminary search. I invite others to do a larger and more careful version, but it is an attempt to probe the world's mythology using methods that are systematic and unbiased. Rather than cherry-picking a couple of ambiguous examples and forcing a once universal fungus cult onto them, I searched for mushrooms in possibly the most comprehensive research on the world's mythology, and I found squat. There's a little bit more here. There's a little bit more. We're going to pick it up tomorrow. I want to talk about the Incan and the Amazonian artifacts that we've called mushrooms. There's a complete different interpretation to those. Is this blowing your mind just a little bit? It is mine, because I'm open to believe what I read. And when I've been reading for the last 20 years, this particular version, well, actually, since Wasson and his PR team started it, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what we're doing, but we have to be more scientific and not just automatically believe something because that's what we were told. So this is going to be really neat. There's more meat to be added to this article. Okay? And as usual, Pops tries to bring every side of a story. Like if I was trying to just be all Mr. Mushroom, I wouldn't read this article. But we're not in the business of trying to shape people into our thought pattern. We're in the business of telling the truth. And let the chips fall where they may. We know where they're falling for personal experience. But let's not make up a history about it that isn't true. Okay? So we will pick up some more of this tomorrow. It's a great article, and I'm going to really be happy to finish reading it with you guys tomorrow. Give me 5 people that like it so far. That's all I need, 5 people. That's right, Michael. We need to feed our head. Give me 5 people that are liking it so far. You know, let's not be like, what's the word for it? So committed to our theories and our hypotheses that we can't recognize if we were wrong. Okay? And so far, it's feeling like, not wrong. Okay. Okay. Give me a number between 1 and 50. Give me a number between 1 and 50. Go. Give me a number between 1 and 50. I'm going to give you a hint. Shannon, that's a neat way to put it. The hint is it's really close to 44. The hint is it's close to 44. It's not 44, but it's close. So the lag is real. HB just got it correct. It's 45. HB. Correcto. It's 45. That guy right there is a 45. HB. Congratulations, HB. Your name's going on the list. HB. Okay. We'll get one more before we're done here today. Okay? Let's do it again. Boom. Give me another one. Give me another one. All right. This is a number between 1 and 2. Go. This is a number between 1 and 2. Go. Sue Littlemeyer. That's correct. You guys all should have put 1 and 2 on your line. It's a 1. Okay, 1.37. Sue Littlemeyer, you're on the list. Oh, congratulations. 1.5, darn. Okay. So we got you, Sue. Good morning, Michelle. I got a message from you the other day, and I honestly didn't get a chance to reply, dear. I'll try today. Good morning. We were talking yesterday about perfectionism. Let's pick up where we left off. As previously mentioned, perfectionism is self-destructive, and it's an addictive belief system that we use to try to protect ourselves from feelings of shame and judgment and blame. It's a 20-ton shield that we lug around thinking it will protect us, when in fact it's the thing that really is preventing us from taking flight. Let me explain why I describe perfectionism as being both destructive and addictive. Perfectionism is self-destructive simply because, wait for it, because there's no such thing as perfect. It's destructive to try to get to some place that doesn't exist. Perfectionism is an unattainable goal. Additionally, perfectionism is more about perception. My idea of something perfect is different than yours, isn't it? My idea of when I achieve perfection, you look at it and go, that doesn't look perfect to me. Perfectionists want to be perceived as perfect. Again, this is unattainable. There's no way to control perception, regardless of how much time and energy we spend trying. That's the number one reason that we call perfectionism self-destructive. Second, perfectionism is addictive. It's what kept me drugging in my 20s. I'm not kidding. This self-destructive behavior, perfectionism is addictive because when we invariably do experience shame, judgment, and blame, we often believe it's because we weren't perfect enough. That's what we bury in our kids. When we spend time training them, but using humiliation and shame and guilt, we're telling them, we're programming them, us, that I'm not good enough. So what do? Lots of addiction is based around this particular issue. Rather than questioning the faulty logic of perfectionism, we become more entrenched in our quest to live and look and do everything right. Leads straight to hypocrisy. Leads straight to a life of not living impeccably. I'll tell you anything you need to hear so I feel okay. Feeling shamed, judged, and blamed, and having the fear of these feelings are realities of the human experience. We will all feel shame, we'll all feel judged, and we'll all feel blamed at some point or another. Big deal. It's part of the human experience. Perfectionism actually increases the odds that we're going to experience these emotions. And then it leads to self-blame. And when I'm in my self-blame, I'm looking for a cure. And the cure doesn't come from inside, it comes from outside. And it's not a cure. It just numbs my symptoms. Does anybody know anything about that? Anybody been trying to numb a symptom or two in their past? We end up saying it's my fault I'm feeling this way because I'm not good enough. And then I'd sit there and I'd look at a brother who was captain in the fire department, and I'd look at a sister who was in Maryland as the #1 realtor in the whole state, living in a mansion. And I'm driving around on a motorcycle selling cocaine to Colombian kids in the San Fernando Valley. And I'm the sharpest one in the group, but I'm the most damaged. I was taught, I was raised, you're not good enough. And every time I wanted to feel good, bring me down a peg. That's what you're supposed to do. What a terrible, terrible way to raise a child or to have a relationship. All of this is, I'm hoping, I want this to resonate with us as we parent and as we build these interrelations. Your kid isn't going to be perfect. Don't expect it. That's agreement number 3. No expectations. Let's look at guilt for a quick moment. Like shame, guilt is an emotion that we experience when we fall short of our own expectations. When we fall short of our own expectations, we get to avoid this one completely if we don't have them. With guilt, our focus is on having done something wrong and on doing something to set things right, like apologizing or changing our behavior. If guilt can push us towards amends, then it's not a bad thing. Remorse, which is a subset of guilt, is what we feel when we acknowledge that we harmed another person. We feel bad about it, and we want to atone for our behavior. While shame is highly correlated with addiction, violence, aggression, depression, eating disorders, bullying, those are all outcroppings of shame. Guilt is negatively correlated with these outcomes. Empathy and guilt work together to create a force that is adaptive and powerful. This is why when we apologize for something we've done, when we make amends or change a behavior that doesn't align with our values, guilt is the driving force, not shame. We feel guilty when we hold up something we've done or failed to do against our own values. And when we find out that they didn't match up, it's psychologically uncomfortable feeling, but it's one that's useful. It's one that's helpful. The discomfort of cognitive dissonance is what drives meaningful change. You're starting to feel really crappy about what you did and it isn't matching up with your values. That's a perfect time to, I feel a little guilty about that. But I don't live in the guilt. I'll express my remorse. I'll work my amend. And I will never do that again. Because what I did was not impeccable. But I'm not shameful. I'm learning. I'm a human on the road of experience. And if I can reach that fork the next time and say, no, I've been down that side and it was wrong. I'm remorseful for having taken that path. I won't take that one again. Who would? If we can actually reach the fork and say, I felt remorse when I went that way. Guilt and remorse. It's going to teach me how to turn to the correct path. We feel guilty. The discomfort of cognitive dissonance is what drives meaningful change. Shame just corrodes the very part of us that believes we can change and do better. We'll continue on in this vein. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about humiliation and read up on some humiliation. Clearly not a good teaching technique. And we'll understand where it works out in the human emotion. Okay? Thank you for being here today, you guys. We covered a really neat article. We'll finish up with that article tomorrow and have some more readings here. Get a laugh or two in the morning. Great message from Jesse James this morning, showing us that he can use his stories to help us. And that's what we want to do. We want to always be helping each other. Steve, that's good. Guilt says, I did wrong. Shame says, I am wrong. That's very good. You're not wrong. You're a human being. You're on the path. And I can tell you this right now. If you're at tea with Pops this morning, you're certainly on the path. You're certainly on the path. Have a good day, you guys. I'm going to scroll you out. Marcus and Maddie G and Glassic. Good morning, Maddie G and Tribal Science and Billy D and Marcus and Sue Littlemeyer and Michael Shanti Patterson. Humility is something we need to learn how to wear it well. Stephen Webb and Herbie and HB and Nipper Mama and Cat Meowzilla and Marcus Doc. Nobody's perfect, right, Doc? Marcus and Michal and Billy D and HB and Mr. Phillips and Tribal Science and the Wazzy Wasserton and Michal, I am okay. Marcus and Nerdy and Lynette. It's nice to see you here this morning. Mike Barabal Cleany. Laura, have a divine day. Niffer, it's beautiful outside here. Have a great one. Greenie, I haven't seen you in a minute. Missed you, kid. Justin, okay. Trenty, the Trenty Trenterson. Maddie G. Mushmouth, love you too. Marcus Yaman, Ismael Barraza Villegas. Sue Littlemeyer, Notorious Skate. Nerdy, love the fam. Corey D and Billy D. And Marcus and Kim. There's my Kimberly, the Golden Bolden. Donnie Fike and Michael Shanti. Herbie and Herbie and Herbie. And then there's Herbie. Wait. Herbie. Summer. Mikey. The Waz. Glassic. Nerdy. Pops. Peace. Love. 4 things. We always try to end with these 4 reminders. The agreements that I try to live by that I think are very, very healthy. Be impeccable. Mostly with your word. Just use your word for goodness and kindness. Save the rest. Don't take things personal. Don't have expectations. And always do your best. Pops out.